Coach, I was looking at some old comments from some of the previous episodes that we've released. One of them was from somebody that we work with, and he said that we should throw in some jokes every now and then into the podcast. So I've come prepared with a joke.
Okay.
It's a dad joke, just to give you a heads up. And anybody else, if you don't like dad jokes, feel free to skip ahead about 20 seconds and then get on with the rest of the podcast. So this is for our client. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl go into the bathroom?
Why?
The P is silent.
Boo. Big boo.
An appropriate response. Welcome back to the Leaning You podcast. Coach Hunter, how have you been since we last recorded?
Yeah, been doing well, thanks. Things are trending in a good direction overall between, fitness, life, nutrition, sleep. Things are going well. And you?
Nice. Yeah, busy January so far. So focusing on my bare ass minimums last week and this week. Just trying to do the bare minimum to keep those habits going, which is not obviously a good long-term approach, but it is a really good short-term approach when things are really busy. And when I say short-term, I mean like a couple of weeks. Next week, I'll be back to my regular plan as far as I can see. I don't expect it to be busier next week. But this week and last week, I'm focusing on those BAMs, and that's going well for me.
Nice job.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah,
back at it next week.
What does back at it look like for you, out of curiosity?
Good question. So I'm dropping my last year, especially the last 3-4 months of the year, I was doing 4 strength workouts a week, fitting in cardio. Let's say I averaged 1.5 per week.
Okay.
Sessions per week. So like 6 a month, let's call it. This month, I want to be more consistent with the cardio. And to do that, I'm going to drop a strength workout. So I'm going to be doing 3 strength workouts per week. And I'm going to go for 2 cardio sessions per week. That's
Nice.
the current goal. So I'm still going to be working out around 5 times a week, which is realistic for me based on my current schedule, way that I'm living. And I want this year to be the year that I do focus more on cardio, which I've never done before.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Turning 41 this year, so I've definitely got to think about cardiovascular health and fitness and longevity. Now, I'm not in a bad spot, right? I do cardio. I get plenty of steps. My resting heart rate is about 58, 59.
Nice.
So I'm in a good spot, and I want to keep it that way. And I'm approaching, I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm approaching the point where to maintain that and to improve that, but at the very least to maintain that, it's going to take a little bit more focus than just fitting in a cardio workout where I can.
A little bit more intentional with it, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Strength, I'm in a good spot. If I never get any stronger, I'm like, fine, I can do anything that I really want to do. I suppose if I wanted to train for a specific event, I would need to get stronger, but I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm strong enough to be able to handle most things. If I need to pick something heavy up, I can basically do it. If I'm traveling, like bags aren't a problem. And again, to maintain that has to be intentional.
Definitely.
And at the same time, I can still get stronger. I mean, I said that I'm turning 41 this year. Also, I'm only turning 41 this year.
Yep.
Still young.
You still have a whole
I'm
life
like an
ahead of
older
you.
young person. I'm like an older young person now. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Or like a young middle-aged person, however you want to frame it. Either way, the word young is in that phrase somewhere, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Even in your 70s, you're like a young, older person.
Yeah. You're a young senior at that point.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. So whatever age you are, you can make improvements. Yeah. You're hitting 40, hitting 50, hitting 60. Shit becomes more difficult. Recovery becomes slower. But there's too much using it as an excuse. oh, this is happening just because I'm 14. Well, no, is it? Or is it because you haven't really worked out since last summer? You haven't really thought about protein since Thanksgiving. Maybe that's why.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's an easy thing to blame because everyone does it, right?
Well, I think it's, I've always thought of this in the way of, you know, there would be certain people I'll interact with who are older than me, like much older than me. And it's a bit of like an insult of a question. So I try not to ask it, and I just try to figure it out through just whatever general conversation. But I'll be like,
Yeah.
I wonder when this person lost their fire. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you're just like, you don't have the same fire in your eyes that I've
Yeah.
seen before. So like going after
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think, obviously life circumstances can do that, and it's terrible when that happens, or,
Oh yeah,
going through.
life will punch you in the face. And
Yeah.
the longer you are alive, the more likely it is, the more guaranteed it becomes that you're going to get hit in the face. And yeah, that's life, right? Every now and then you get hit in the face. Life knocks you down.
I can't remember. I can't remember which boxer it was. It might have been Muhammad Ali. I have no idea. But there was a phrase of the first half of your competitive fighting career is being able to give a punch. The second half is being able to take a punch. I think it's true in terms of like life in general, right? Like from my experience anyway, with life as a man, like
Yeah.
the first half of my life has been like, okay, like, and that's relative. I'm 33. So it's
Sure.
been like, okay, push forward. What can you give to the world? And then what can you take from the world as well, in terms of like what it gives you, or what it, and gives you in terms of like positive or negative as well, right? And
Yeah.
just being able to kind of roll with those punches as well.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the older that you get and the further away you get from a state of health, which you had at some point when you were younger, the harder it is to start. Right? Let's acknowledge that. The longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be to start.
Or the more challenging it'll be to pick it up too, right?
Absolutely. Also, the older you get, the more responsibilities you tend to accrue. And therefore, figuring out how to fit it in at this point, because you never made it a priority, figuring that out does become a lot more challenging. So I don't want anybody listening to this who isn't currently taking action, but is trying to figure out how. I don't want them to think that we're calling them lazy, because we're not. A 22-year-old with very few responsibilities deciding to get in shape is very different to somebody who's even like 42, let alone 52 or 62, trying to get it figured out.
Yeah.
Because most 22-year-olds, not all, of course, but the majority of 22-year-olds, they don't have a ton of responsibilities. They got to go to work and they got to pay their rent, if they are actually paying rent and they're not living at home. Like, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Thinking about myself, at least, that was a level of my responsibilities at 22.
So I remember I came across this thought of, you're not lazy, your brain is trying to be efficient. Your brain's job is to make sure that you can conserve enough energy to be able to facilitate any like life-threatening tasks at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't feel like you have the energy to do something, your brain is trying to keep you safe. Your nervous system is trying to be efficient. So maybe it's not necessarily that you're lazy. Maybe it's more so to the side of, you don't have the capacity to do a thing that you're trying to do. So like we're talking about picking up more exercise and movement and all these things, that's still going to require work and energy. And if your body isn't getting adequate sleep, nutrition, hydration, all these things that would allow it to perform more, do more, then yeah, of course, you're not going to feel like doing it. You don't have the resources to get that done. So it's also about meeting yourself where you're at.
You just described every single, especially mum, in her 40s, with young kids, sleeping poorly, working a full-time job, who describes themselves as lazy. Like, they're not lazy. They got a shit ton to do, and they're trying to figure out how to do this like damn fucking strength training as well at the same fucking time. Yeah, you're not lazy.
It's
It's
looking
really
at what,
fucking hard. Yeah.
yeah, and like you're looking at everything you're not doing instead of all the things that you
Yeah.
are doing. Like, why can't you do that? Well, because I'm running a high performing career while trying to raise responsible kids that'll turn into responsible adults, and also be there for my partner if you have a spouse, and
Yeah.
still take care of myself on top of all of that while maintaining all the regular life stuff too. It's like, well, that sounds like plenty to me. So,
Yeah.
giving yourself some credit.
It's and then we didn't talk about this specifically to pitch coaching. I want to bring it up though. Like, if that sounds like you, coaching is the closest thing there is to a hack for you to do.
Mm.
It's going to take off a lot of the mental load of figuring this stuff out. So if you're fortunate enough, and you've put the work in to be able to have the resources to afford to work with a coach, it's a thing to consider for sure. If you are at your bandwidth, if you are at your complete limit, there's nothing else that you can think about right now. There's no way that you can think about, how do I get more protein? How do I stay in a calorie deficit? How do I live my life at the same time on the weekend without making a ton of sacrifices? How do I still demonstrate a healthy relationship with food and exercise to my kids? How the fuck do I figure out a training program in the first place? Like, if you are in that position and you are fortunate enough to have additional resources, invest in a coach. And I'm using the word invest very, very intentionally, because there's no cost to coaching. The cost is what happens if you don't take action. That's the cost. A gym membership is not a cost, it's an investment. Eating healthy food, buying that healthy food, that's not a cost, that's an investment in your health. Working with a coach, hiring a coach, that is an investment. It is not a cost. The cost is, if you don't take action of some kind, whether with a coach or without a coach, the cost is the back pain that's going to start to form if you don't start to exercise more, become more active. It's the years that you are going to lose of independence because you haven't maintained some kind of exercise regime. It's the higher risk of disease from not working on what you are eating and changing that. Like, that's the cost. The cost is all the negative stuff that can potentially happen if you don't take action, whether with a coach or without.
The way I look at it is, you're going to pay either way. Okay. So you're either going to pay in time, spinning your wheels, being frustrated that you're not making any progress. But the way you could look at it, if you have to clean your house and you don't have the time or ability and you have the resources and you hire someone to come clean your place, it gets it done for you. And it feels amazing that now a task has been removed for you. You go to a restaurant because you don't have the energy, capacity, or ability to cook dinner for the evening. So all these feelings that you get of like, oh, thank God it's taken off my plate.
Yeah.
That's the feeling you get when you have a coach, myself included. When I have oh, thank God I don't have to think of what I want to do in this workout today. I can just go in and execute. I just have to be there and be present. Like, that in itself is worth the price of admission. I don't got to think for a second after thinking all day. Like, I'm for that for sure. So you can either pay in all those things I mentioned, plus your time and effort of trying to figure it out and feeling frustrated of lack of results, or you can put that payment towards an investment that teaches you, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I do it. And you're going to learn those life skills, because we say this to our members all the time too. Hey, you've learned how to lose fat now. You know how to do that. Great. Let's work on building more muscle. Cool. Now you have the skill as well. They graduate from the program and now they have these skills for the rest of their life because they've done it before.
Totally. Well said, coach. And look, even if you don't have those resources right now to work with a coach, okay, I get it. Tough times right now, huh? Use what we're saying as a reason to start taking action. Use what I'm about to say as well as a reason to start taking action. Like, if you're in the US, the healthcare system, right? Let's say you don't strength train. Let's say you never really get around to starting that, and you break your hip in 10, 15, 20 years' time. What's that going to cost you? I mean, sure, you may have health insurance through work, but you're going to have to pay out some cash, right? You have to pay out something. Look up, like go onto Google and type in, okay, like how much money, or just contact your health provider, right? Your health insurance provider if you want to, and try to figure out, okay, like what will it cost me financially if I break a hip? On top of what the insurance is going to pay, what am I going to have to pay as well? And then add inflation on top of that, another 20 years worth of inflation where it's going to cost at least twice as much as it does now. Like, what is that expense, that financial expense going to be in 20 years' time? Or a heart attack, potentially, from not taking action. How much is that going to cost? Like, in terms of finance, in terms of your loss of freedom, your loss of independence. And because we don't want to be acting purely from fear, what would you be willing to pay to give yourself an extra 5 to 10 years of being able to do all the things you enjoy doing, the traveling, the hiking, skiing, all of the physical activities that you do? Because we know that strength training, while we can't say for sure that it's going to extend your lifespan, you could argue that it would, but I don't think we have any conclusive evidence that it's going to actually extend your lifespan. We have some pretty damn conclusive evidence that strength training consistently will give you an additional 5 to 10 independent years. Again, like extra healthy years, not extra years. Like if, let's say, average life expectancy is whatever, like 80, let's say. I'm not saying it's going to let you live to 85 to 90, but it's going to allow you, instead of having to stop doing the things that you enjoy because of like physical issues at 70, you have a better chance of being able to do them when you are 75, 80, maybe even into your 80s as well. So do a cost-benefit analysis of what you're doing. And the money that you would have to pay now is an investment to stop that stuff from happening in the future. Whether you pay us or another coach, whatever, like just or use what we've been saying as a reason to take action. Let's answer a question.
Let's do it.
Why am I so exhausted after strength training? Why am I so exhausted after strength training?
You're more than likely putting in an appropriate amount of effort into your training program. I think it can be challenging to think of, okay, I'm going to do this thing that's going to make me more tired. At the same time, you're putting in an effort. You're exerting force. You're burning calories. Yeah, you're going to be fatigued. I ask, one of my favorite questions to ask people whenever we're doing any sort of intake is, what constitutes a successful workout to you? And it's, okay, I need to sweat. I need to feel exhausted by the end of it. For some people, it's, I just need to complete it. I want to just tick the box, make sure that I've got something done for myself. So whatever that is to you, that's what your aim or goal should be. You can adjust your intensity and whether or not you want to feel a particular way and achieve a certain stimulus based on your efforts. So if this is coming from a place of, why am I always exhausted, and you don't like that, maybe you need to take your foot off the pedal a little bit here. If you're wondering why from a physiological perspective, well, it's all those things I just mentioned. You're burning calories, you're taxing your nervous system, you're listening to loud music, probably while you're working out. That's also a form of stress as well. It all kind of makes sense as to what you're doing.
Totally, yeah. It's new. It's physically demanding and it's new. Your nervous system just needs more time to adapt to it. Your muscles, your skeleton, connective tissues, it all needs time to adapt. Having said that, if you've been doing this for a few weeks, a few months, and you're just like flat out exhausted at the end of your workouts, maybe you're pushing too hard. Maybe you think you have to push to absolute failure with every single set. So you're going until you can't complete another single rep. And that's fine to do every now and then. And in fact, if building muscle is your goal, the final set of each exercise kind of has to be pretty damn close to failure if you're in that goal of like building larger muscles. If you're trying to lose weight, you can leave 2 or maybe 3 reps in the tank. So go until you think you can do 2 or 3 more, but then don't do those last 2 or 3, which is still hard work. Okay, the final rep should still be a bit slower than the first rep. So you should need a couple of minutes rest before you can complete another set with the same number of reps. But yeah, because of the kind of people that we work with like very like hard driving, successful people. All they know is push, work, whatever they're doing. People like that tend to push themselves more in workouts. So if that is the case, this person may well be pushing too hard. What do you think about that, coach?
So I always use this analogy because it's my favorite analogy. There's a vehicle, a car. It's a Bugatti Veyron. Okay, so supercar. It's like a couple $1 million to a supercar. The car can go 350 plus kilometers an hour, 200 and whatever miles per hour that converts into. And at that pace of the car going at that speed, the gas tank can only last for 11 minutes because the brakes being used at that pace can only last for like 14 minutes or something like that. So essentially, if you want to be able to do more, you actually have to start doing less on the other side of the equation, because it's a two-part equation. There's the physical component, but there's the recovery component. You can't do more by always doing more. You're only going to be able to do as much as you recover. So the more recovery you get, the better sleep, the better dedicated downtime through journaling, breathing practice, stretching, mobility. The more you fill that cup, the more fuel you get to put towards the output. So those inputs that you do are going to facilitate more of those outputs that you're looking to achieve. So if you, like we had mentioned earlier, you're not lazy because you don't have energy to do something. You just don't have enough energy to do something because you're doing too much. So how do we find these efficiencies for you? Okay, maybe you can only get a certain amount of sleep in a night. Great. How do we get a better quality of sleep? Whether that means 2-3 hours before bed, you stop eating. You don't have caffeine 10 hours before sleep. You make sure that you have no screens an hour before bed. Maybe you're taking some sort of sleep supplement like magnesium if that's cleared by your doctor and you can do that properly. And you're doing some guided breathing before bed to put yourself in that deep sleep state. You're doing all the things in terms of ticking the box to make sure that you don't get up in the middle of the night. You stop drinking water about an hour before bed so you don't wake up to pee in the middle of the night. If you can get better sleep quality and improve your recovery, we've all been there. Like yourself included, myself included. Dude, if there's a night where your kids sleep through the night, the next day you're firing all cylinders. There's no knife that's not dropping that you can't catch.
Yeah.
Versus, okay, I've got nothing for today because I was up. I slept 3 hours, or the kids are sick, or I was woken up a few times throughout the night. The more you can work on the recovery inputs, the more you'll be able to put into the outputs the following day when it comes to physical stuff as well, and even the cognitive stuff too.
Totally. Very well said, coach, for sure. Something else that comes to mind, because we are like a weight loss focused podcast, maybe this person is on a low carb diet. And so they're having no carbs before the workout, using up what few carbs they have stored in their liver, and they're having no carbs post-workout. So they're fucking exhausted. Because carbs are the primary fuel for strength training. So if you want to follow a low carb diet, I don't know why you would put yourself through that unless there's a specific medical reason to follow a low carb diet. Maybe you have some kind of carb before, some kind of after. If it is a medical reason, of course, talk to your doctor before you do that. Because, anaerobic respiration, which is the form of energy production that does happen when you're strength training, that requires glucose, carbs. So have some carbs before and after is what I would recommend if this person is following a low carb diet.
Even if you are following a low carb diet, most low carb diets are going to encourage you to have carbohydrates on training days, right? Because you're going to want to replenish your muscle glycogen as well. So even if you do want to lean towards the side of lower carb, sure, non-training days makes sense. You don't have any training or really high intensity physical output to execute. Cool. But the days that you are performing those higher intensity movements or exercises, like you're selling yourself short. You want to have that carbohydrate afterwards. It's going to help facilitate better recovery. If you are someone who is noticing, okay, sleep isn't the greatest, you're waking up in the middle of the night, and it just so happens to coincide with you being on a low carb diet, it might be because you don't have enough carbohydrates to get you through the night so you can sleep better. We know it causes an insulin response that leads to lowering your cortisol, which ends up lending itself to you being able to sleep better at night. The reason why we wake up is because our cortisol is higher. It's that stress hormone that wakes us up for our body to respond to it by eating something to bring that cortisol back down. So if you can put yourself in that internal physiological, I guess like biochemical soup, and put yourself in a position where that soup is one that allows you to stay asleep because you've created an internal environment of safety, then it's easier to sleep and stay asleep. But if you're in that threatened state where, okay, now, cortisol's high, then you're going to wake up in the middle of the night because your body is hungry. You're just trying to manage that cortisol while you're sleeping.
Totally. Yeah. And then finally, if there's an unexplained reason why you're feeling tired after exercise, go see your doctor.
Please.
Right? We have exactly 0 medical qualifications, so I'm not giving you any medical advice there. But, if you're at all concerned about this, go talk to your doctor.
Did you see on one of the podcast episodes, I think it was the last podcast, someone had commented a break and a fracture are the exact same thing?
Yeah.
Did you see my comment to that?
I actually didn't know.
I commented back to that person. I said, thank you for letting us know. Just as a reminder that Daniel and I always say on the podcast, him and I both have 0 medical qualifications between us both. So thank you. We're also learning here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I thought a fracture meant like a slight, like a crack in a bone, basically. And I thought a broken bone meant like a complete break. But obviously don't know what I'm talking about, obviously. I wonder how many other people believe that. I've got no idea. Maybe it's just me. Maybe everybody else knows that a break and a fracture is the same thing.
There's different classifications from my understanding. It's like avulsion fractures, there's hairline fractures, there's different, or breaks, I suppose. I guess it's a nuanced
still a broken bone, technically, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The crack in your bone is definitely broken, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, if in doubt, talk to your doctor. Always good advice. Okay. Coach, what's the best kind of protein powder to use? And I think they mean not brand. They mean there's different specific kinds of protein powder. There's whey protein powder. There's whey isolate protein powder. There's casein. There's plant-based. There's different forms of plant-based. There's egg protein. There's egg white protein powder. There's so many different kinds. So what is the best one to use?
This is definitely a nuanced question. So I lean towards the side of animal-based protein. So not plant-based. It's not to say that you can't get all the protein you need from plant-based protein supplements. However, most of the protein that is in plant-based products is going to be in the fiber, which we're not able to break down. So generally, there's the consensus that if you see a particular amount of protein listed in a plant-based product, it's worth about half the amount of protein that you would if you were to absorb or ingest a animal-based product. So if you have 30 grams of protein in a New Zealand whey isolate protein shake that's based in dairy, then the same amount in a plant-based protein, say it's like corn or something of that nature, or hemp, then really the 30 grams of plant-based protein is going to be equivalent to 15 grams of the animal-based protein.
Yeah, so I've seen the same thing. I've not seen that specific number where you have to divide by 2. I've not seen that before. I have seen, and I'm sure you would agree here, you could absolutely build muscle and get the protein that you need from plant-based sources of protein. You just probably do need to eat more grams of protein than somebody who's getting their protein from meat.
Yeah, this is what I think a general rule of thumb. I want to say consensus, rule of thumb is generally 2 to 1 ish.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's going to be from that perspective. So if you're looking for optimization perspective, then look towards animal based.
Mm.
All right. And then if you're going to look towards plant-based, then you're going to want to look for something that has a blend. So something that is something like corn, hemp. So this way you have different amino acid profiles coming in, and there'll be different types of amino acids that your body can absorb. When you're looking from the animal-based protein side of things, okay, so now we're looking at whey isolates, you're looking at casein, all these different types of protein. Generally, casein is going to be slow release style protein. So this is going to be something that's really good for you to have at night, for example, because it's going to keep your blood sugar stable throughout the entire evening. So like I was mentioning prior, if you're having trouble staying asleep, this might be something good to have, not right before bed, but later in the evening, so this way your body can keep your blood sugar down, keep your cortisol low. It'd be helpful to maintain sleep overnight.
Yeah. Or even
Generally, if
just
you're
making a shake for a meal at lunchtime, let's say, to keep
yeah,
hunger down for the rest of the afternoon. Casein could be a really good option in that situation too, for sure.
yeah, of course, it's basically slow digesting, right? It
Yeah.
takes a little bit longer to break down. Yeah, I think most bros would agree that it's whey protein isolate, grass fed New Zealand whey. That's just like the gold standard for the most part,
Yeah.
right? Would you agree, or does that kind of check
It
with you
seems to
too?
be, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to have that same slow, steady release that casein does. But, just like a general shake or to have something before or after working out, it's a good option. Honestly, the way that I look at this is if you do want to be consuming protein powder on a regular basis, for whatever reason, I mean, for me, the best one is going to be whichever one you like the taste of most.
Mm.
That also has maybe the fewest ingredients. If you're also thinking about just like the health, like the health of the choice that you're making. So if it's full of like added sugars, for example, yeah, maybe you don't want that one.
Mm.
If it just has like a sweetener and another couple of things, yeah, it's totally fine. But yeah, whichever one you like the taste of most and that you're going to therefore consume most consistently. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also one more thing I'll mention for people to look at in
Mm.
terms of, because you mentioned the one that doesn't have minimal ingredients. There's
Yeah.
actually an acronym that you'll find on products that have been validated. So you'll find either what's called an NPN number, for national product number, that validates that the ingredients that are in there are actually in there. Or I think in the States, in America, it's called a DIN number. It's a drug identification number, I believe it's
Mm.
also called. I think it's in Canada too. Either way, it just validates that whatever is being claimed is in there is actually in there too. So if you're looking for supplements, looking for these numbers will be helpful too, to make sure that the quality you're getting is also there too.
Yeah. And one that has been third party tested to actually
Exactly.
validate that for sure.
Mhm.
I'll mention the one that I use because they do sponsor me. I'm going to be very open about that. Legion is the brand that I like, that I generally recommend. LegionAthletics.com. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want. Tastes good. Third party tested. High quality ingredients. No added sugars that I can see anyway in their things.
Mm.
So yeah, that's who I like. I trust. I like as well about the company that on their homepage they say that you don't need supplements to get results.
That's awesome.
When a supplements company tells me that, I'm like, okay, I immediately trust you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Legion Athletic is one of the examples. There are lots of companies that are doing it right. I mean, maybe you know one or two. If you do, you can just feel free to mention them here, Coach. Maybe there's a Canadian based one because Legion Athletics is in the US. It's an American company. Shipping from there to Canada, plus taxes and stuff like that, plus the exchange rate too, can make things a little bit
Be a bit
pricey to order
steep.
to Canada sometimes. But do you know any Canadian brands?
Yeah, the one that I use is called ATP Labs. So it's from Charles Poliquin. So he's
Okay.
famous, very successful Canadian strength coach. Created his own protein company, or his own supplement company rather. And yeah, it's my favorite because, well, one, the Canadian national women's Olympic soccer team uses it, so it's like validated for sport at a super high level. Also, my favorite thing is that it comes in 2 flavors, chocolate or vanilla. It's like, we got nothing else. This is what we're here for. We're not here for the flavors. We're here for what you want. It's about as simple as it gets. So it's like, okay,
Nice.
there's no decision fatigue between flavors, and yeah, it's solid. The ingredients are all listed there. It's minimal in terms of that.
Yeah.
The quality is super high. I do tend to have challenges with dairy-based products for myself.
Yep.
I'm not lactose intolerant, but I have a bit of like a sensitivity to it, and it doesn't bother me at all, which is pretty great too.
The whey isolate specifically, because it's stripped away all of the carbs. It's basically pure protein. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and it mixes super well too.
So yeah. So if I had to pick 2, I would say a casein powder for like adding into a shake that was like a meal, basically. Whey isolate can be good for that, especially if you're also adding in some like healthy fats and some berries and some fiber to also slow down the digestion of that. Also, pre and post workout whey isolate is great. But if I had to pick one, it would be whey isolate. So yeah.
You had said earlier the way you look at it, and I was wondering if that was a protein whey pun.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to pretend I'm that smart to be able to come up with a joke that's that quick.
No way. Yeah, way.
No way. Okay. Cool. Let's do this one. I've been losing and regaining the same 10 pounds for the last 3 years. I do well for a while, see results, get complacent, and lose my progress. How do I get out of this cycle?
I'll ask you to go first on this, Coach. What are your thoughts?
Sure. So first of all, I want to say respect for continuing to take action. This is somebody who is taking action. And anybody who is taking action is therefore taking responsibility. Okay, you're not where you want to be. You're in this cycle that you feel stuck in. But I just want to say, yeah, good job taking responsibility and taking action. So with people in this situation, the phrase that I picked up on was, I get complacent. So this to me is somebody who is almost certainly an all or nothing thinker, a perfectionist thinker. They are not following the 80-20 principle, most likely, when they're in fat loss mode. For them, it's one way is weight loss, and then this other completely different way of eating and moving is maintenance. An 80-20 approach while you're losing weight doesn't require a ton of effort to stick with long term. So this person is almost certainly doing things, for example, dropping to 1,200 calories by default when they're trying to lose weight. They're cutting out all processed foods. They're probably training 5-6 days a week at least. They're doing things which work for the short term, but not in the long term, which to me means they don't work at all. If your goal is to lose weight and keep it off and to get out of the cycle. So the approach that you are taking to lose weight doesn't work, even though you are losing weight while you're doing it, because you're stuck in this cycle. So I think acknowledging, first of all, that, okay, the approach that I'm taking doesn't work. I need to change this. Or at the very least, I need to modify how I'm looking at this. But before I talk about, any kind of potential solution here, Coach, does that track with you? Is that what you were thinking as well?
I was thinking of a bit of a different approach,
or a bit
of a different response. So
yeah.
Maybe this is more on like the this is my thought when I hear a question like this, where it's okay. Same thing you said. Okay, cool. You're taking action. Great. So you
Yeah,
go up and you're yo-yoing through weight. Cool.
yeah.
So to me, that tells me that you hit a point in your weight that you become either upset, unhappy. There's some sort of emotional response to it where you say, okay, got to get this under control. Cool. You come down those 10 pounds. Awesome. Congratulations. The fuel source that got you there, which was not being happy, being upset, not fitting in your clothes, isn't going to be the same fuel source that gets you to the goal that you want to achieve further. So now we have to change the goal. This is how it goes. So from there, maybe it's the circumstance of like Goodhart's law, like a measure ceases to be a good measure once it becomes the main metric, right? So instead of prioritizing the number on the scale from what it sounds like this person is doing, are you measuring inches? Are you measuring how your clothes are fitting? Are you measuring your energy levels, your strength? We got to, at some point, change the aim, because it can't just be the number on the scale into perpetuity, because there's also going to be a base amount of weight that your body's going to need to maintain. It's just how it goes. We want to still be able to maintain strength, muscle, all these things. So, okay, you go down to those 10 pounds and maybe we shift towards a performance goal instead. Cool. I lost those 10 pounds. I feel like I can move a lot better, feeling really great, not snoring at night, all these like other physiological signs that you're in a healthy place. Maybe now there's room to aim for like, hey, you know what? I would love to be able to squat my body weight. Cool. That's going to require strength. It's going to require all the same processes that you've now taught yourself and are able to maintain, but we're going to have a shift more towards a performance goal rather than a number on the scale. Because you can lose weight, right? It's not weight loss that you want. You want the identity shift that comes with it. You want the awesome feeling that comes with it after a good workout. You want all these things that are associated with it. But when you step on the scale and see that things aren't going in the right direction, you become discouraged. So we need different input. At some point, when you change the input, or the goal rather, you get to a place where you don't give a fuck what that scale says, because you feel awesome. And you're like, fuck yeah. That scale says what? That I'm up 3 pounds? Yeah, but I look even better. Like, yeah, let's go. Whatever. I don't need this thing anymore. And
Yeah.
the focus shifts. So that's what came to mind when I heard this question.
Yeah. I think both of us can be right? It just depends on the specific individual. Like with this level of information that we have,
Of course.
we can't be any more specific than we've been able to be. And there's going to be lots of different situations here. So yeah, maybe you identified with what I said, maybe you identified more with what Coach Santos said. Yeah. Perfect. And so I think I also acknowledge as well, although I do speak about making weight loss sustainable, not doing anything extreme, there is a minority of people for whom a more extreme approach is completely fine. It's okay. Now, how do you know whether you are that person? Well, if you're stuck in this cycle, you are not. If you lose the weight and you keep it off and you lost it with an extreme approach, like that's you. Okay, you lost weight, you kept it off, now you're good. Cool. That was appropriate for you. Okay, you felt good while you were doing it. There were no health repercussions from doing it. You felt healthy while you were doing it. You felt great now. You've maintained your weight loss. You've got a set of healthy habits in place now. Okay, great. What you did was fine then. But if you have been stuck in this cycle of taking that extreme approach, losing weight, but then regaining it, getting back into the extreme approach, losing weight, but then regaining it, the extreme approach is not appropriate for you. And I think for most people, I would argue, I think for the majority of people, the extreme approach doesn't work long term. But I just want to put it out there, but there is a minority of people for whom it's completely fine.
Yeah. And even in that too, to add on to what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to continue with something when you start to sew together a couple of wins for yourself too. So sure,
Yeah.
you take an extreme up. You agree, okay, first couple of weeks of me trying to do this, I'm going to take an extreme approach so I can see some progress on the scale, use some momentum from there, and then shift more towards a sustainable approach. Majority of people listening to this don't have a weight loss problem. They have a weight maintenance problem.
Yes.
They can't hold on to the results that they have. So yeah, you want to take a bit of a more extreme approach. Even the word extreme is maybe a bit much, but if you want to take a more intense approach initially to start to see some progress, to build some confidence and be like, okay, yeah, okay, this feels good. I'm happy about this. And that allows you to stick to the commitment that you've made for yourself to have this goal. Yeah, go get that W. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Just know that
Yeah.
what, again, like I mentioned earlier, what got you to there might not be what keeps you there.
Absolutely. I'd also just quickly mention that if you have even any vaguely disordered eating or exercise patterns in the past, don't take the extreme approach. It's almost certainly going to end very poorly for you. I would not recommend that you do that. But if you've always had a healthy relationship with food, with exercise, with the scale, with your body, and let's be honest, like, who the fuck is that? It's like 1 in 1,000 people, maybe, for whom all of those things line up. Maybe for that outlier, it's fine to do a more intense period at the beginning. And again, there's going to be like lots of individual differences. And generally speaking, that's not what we talk about on this podcast, because we're trying to help like the majority, right, who do require a more sustainable approach. So a more sustainable approach might be, instead of when you are in that trying part and getting results, like instead of trying to work out 5, 6, 7 days a week, aim for 2 to 4. Something you think you could keep up long term. Instead of cutting out all carbs, have a serving of starch at most meals. Instead of cutting out all sugar, just have it like a few times a week, with intention, mindfully. Instead of hitting 1,200 calories, okay, maybe you take your target weight in pounds and multiply that by 12. Maybe you aim for that number instead of 1,200 calories. And do it in a much more sustainable way. So the way that you eat should essentially be a way that you feel you could eat long term, just with more calories once you've hit your goal weight and you want to go back up to maintenance. The way that you train with your workouts, with your strength training, with your cardio, you should feel, oh, you know what, I could keep this up for a long time with a week off here and there, a few times a year. The steps that you should be getting, those 7 to 10,000, that should feel like, yeah, you can do that. Because for a lot of people, like getting 10, 12, 15,000 steps just isn't realistic right now. But getting between 7 and 10,000 steps, that is more realistic. And so dialing it back to an approach that you think, you know what? It's basically impossible to get complacent with this, because the effort required to do it, I mean, yeah, there is still some effort, but it's not like the effort required to train 6 days a week, or to get 15,000 steps every day, or to cut out all carbs, or to only eat 1,200 calories. Like, that takes a fucking lot of effort every single day. But the approach that I described before, the more sustainable approach, you can get that done 80% of the time with some effort.
Yeah, I think even to add on to that, is the complacency coming from getting closer to the goal, or is it from not having enough novelty in your training or in your diet or in the routes you're taking while you're trying to get your steps, or the way that you're approaching the entire thing? Because yeah, like everybody can use some novelty with some stuff every now and then, myself included. I'm sure for yourself too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And yeah, like if you're just going through the motions, of course you're not going to see any progress, right? One of the things I'll see often when I'm working with people is, well, I've been doing this workout program for the last 8 months and I'm just not seeing any progress. Like, why is that? So, well, you've been doing the same workout program for the last 8 months, and that's why you're not seeing any progress. You got to change the stimulus. You got to lift heavier. You have to adjust your exercises accordingly. So the idea of complacency may be coming from the spot of, okay, I'm doing the same thing, which is why you're seeing the same thing. And if you were to take a different approach or make a few adjustments, you could continue to see the progress as well, like we're mentioning here.
Totally. Yeah, well said, Coach. If you can't see yourself doing what you're doing for a year, at least, maybe it's time to change. Maybe it's time to change things up. Take that more sustainable approach that we mentioned. And to stop viewing weight loss and weight maintenance as these two different things. I've said it a bunch of times before. The difference between weight loss and weight maintenance is around 500 calories. Everything else should pretty much be the same in terms of your workout frequency, the steps that you're getting, the quality of the food that you're eating, even the amount of protein that you're eating. But even that can even slightly drop at maintenance. Coach Santo, thank you for today. Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to give us a 5-star review. We would very much appreciate that. If you want to reach out to us, tap the link in the description below. We got our Instagram pages. I'll put a link in. Anybody who is, who's been working hard on their weight loss goals so far in 2026, hasn't really seen the progress they want to see, book a call with me. We'll see if we can give you a hand.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Great. Have a great week.